now and basically Google, but essentially it's that strange course that you see if you're driving on Route 70 out of the Baltimore Beltway, just north of Route 70, between 32 and 97. And I always wondered, just how much of a challenge it would be to play those two holes that I see along the highway while traffic is roaring by and so forth. And it was an interesting experience. I will say that ultimately it was not too impressive on the front side, but the back side was significantly better. It actually had some challenging holes, and it was a good, fun course. I think it's actually a par 62, and it doesn't have any par 5s. The course has almost the same number of par 3s as it has par 4s, but no par 5s. And it's really a good course in a sense for, the fact that it's got good rough on most of the course, and the rough is long enough, certainly, 3, 4, 5 inches long, long grass. It's just really straight grass, but long. And it's not that kind of rough that you see often where it's thick grass and really hard to, get a club in, or it's mossy kind of rough or something like that. And it's just a different type of rough, but it's a kind of rough that I see fairly often. Haven't seen it in a while though, and it was a good challenge to go out and play in it, to chip in it. But also it still has a fair amount of woods around a fair number of the greens, woods and ivy waste like at Cross Creek. But some of the holes are just, big rolling mounds of rough around the green, some big hills and bounding around the backside of the green. So it has a good mixture of peril to hit into in terms of your approach shots. It had really not much in terms of carries. There were a couple holes where there were creeks that crossed in front of the fairways, across the fairways for the par 4s. But the par 3s were a good challenge. And quite a few of them, I think you come in 7, 8, 9 are par 3s. And I think, 6, 7, 8, 9 are par 3s, really. And then you've got a creek on the 6. You've got a lake bordering the green on number 7. And you have 2 lakes bordering the green on number 9. And then number 10, you have another lake off to the right. And number 11 is another par 3, which has a big lake in front of it, center right. And then number 3 is just another par 3, which has deep grass, really deep grass. I actually hit a ball. I duffed it off the tee, and then I couldn't find it in the grass. So I ended up playing another ball, just, said screw it, had played another ball. So there were a fair number of holes where I did not play exceptionally great golf. It wasn't pretty to look at. And it was a combination of the fact that the rough was certainly a challenge to chip out of, and I just wasn't really feeling that well. I'm still kind of under the weather right now. I have cold or something. It's just so I was aspirined up when I was playing this round and just not myself through the front side. But at the same time, it is kind of cool for, say, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're playing the same club really on the shot. So it's really an interesting thing to have to hit the same club 4 times in a row to the green. And, by the time I, messed up 6 and then did okay on 7, and then 8 and 9, I actually put the ball on the green. So I was pretty happy with that. And then 9, 7, 8, and 9, I actually got on the green. And then 10 was an interesting story. And I was really kind of thinking about how I was going to describe this while I was playing, which was kind of weird because the last time I played a course, Links at Challendon, I may have mentioned something about greenskeeper fouling. This was kind of similar. I had a guy who was mowing the rough, and he seemed like, a nice enough guy. He saw me, and he got his riding mower and just went off to another hole. So I was pretty happy with that. But on number 10, I'm at the tee box, and there's a guy on the green finishing the hole, and he is getting in his cart, and this guy is 85, and he gets, he makes his putt and gives himself a little fist pump, gets the ball, goes back to his cart, and the course man, I guess his course manager, I don't know who it was, had gone down there and talked to him, and then he talked to him, and they both drove off to the next hole. Unfortunately, at this point, this greenskeeper decided to go down and mow the rough around the post next to the pond. Not anywhere near the hole, but next to the pond. There's actually the green. It's a fairly big kidney bean sized green, and then there's a cart path that runs between the lake to the right and the green. And then they have cut down telephone pole stumps, and he's mowing down in there with the thing, and I'm just, well, I'll just wait, and at this point it was like a done deal. I'll just wait for him to finish. And he's mowing and mowing, and he mows sequentially away from the tee box. So he goes around the corner out of sight. And I said, well, I don't, I guess it's okay to hit now because he's out of sight around the corner. So sure enough, I hit my 8-iron downhill. And of course it fans to the right. And I'm like, oh crap. And it goes up and it comes down and it hits the cart path. Boing, right next to the freaking lake, and then bounces onto the center of the green where I was aiming anyway. Okay, I'll cheat long and to the back, side, and it went and landed right where I was, thinking. But the problem was I was already thinking about what to say about this the whole time I was playing holes. I drove down there, got the cart down there, got out, putted, and it's an uphill putt to a high spot in the green and then downhill to the pin. And sure enough, I left it short, hanging at the top, and then I missed the shot going down and 3-putted. I'm like, and it's one of those things where I was thinking kind of the whole time through the front side, exactly how much does it bother me to play while there's all this road traffic behind me on Route 770 or Highway I-70, and also, other greenskeepers who are driving around and stuff like that. And it was interesting to think, it's not really a big bother, but you're definitely thinking about it. And it does kind of take you out of your game a little bit. But what takes you out a lot is worrying about what you're going to say in a video as a response of what's happening while you're trying to play. And that kind of was, a thing where I was like, okay, well, I'm making more out of it than it is. I'll say something about it, and it's not really that big a deal. So I play the next hole, which is this par 3, which has a big lake over half the fairway. It goes up to about, goes up to the green as far as I could tell from the tee box. And immediately I spin 2 balls into the lake. Just spin, just totally not hitting it the way I wanted it to hit, because I was trying something different. I was trying something a little bit different with this club. I wanted to see, okay, if I hit it with a little bit more closed and so forth, can I play this? And it just didn't work. I ended up having to go back to opening up my regular swing and just swinging normally. And then I hit a decent ball that went straight towards the pin and barely made it over the lake and landed in the front of the grass, which was cool. It's okay, fine. But I ended up taking like a large score there. Went to the next hole, and when I pulled up to the tee box, the guy, the club guy, pulled up behind me, and I looked at him and I said, "How's it going?" And he looked at me and says, "Well, I'm just wanting to see how you were doing." And I said, "I'm doing fine. Everything's fine. I just lost 3 balls in the lake, but no big deal. It wasn't because I was I was upset about something. I just was trying something different." And he's like, "Okay, I just want to make sure everything's fine." So I think it's not really fair for me to ignore the fact that the people at this course were uniformly, really, I would say, very nice people, very friendly, outreaching, things like that. Just a nice group of people running the course. But at the same time, what's really wrong with this course is it just isn't well maintained. I mean, that's the sad thing about it. The first hole is halfway decent. It's an actually decent sort of dogleg right to an uphill green. It's a good challenge and so forth. And you're trying to make this shot to an uphill green, which is 25 feet up from the fairway and stuff, over a creek, board in front of the green. And that's a challenging shot. It's a challenging shot when you don't have 8 lanes of highway traffic right behind you. But when you do have 8 lanes of traffic right behind you, it's definitely challenging. And on top of that, making it worse, the fairway at that point was not well maintained at all. It was very sparse, dry, just a mess. There was almost no real grass there to hit off of. You're looking at patches of grass and so forth. But the thing about it was the number 2 hole was another par 3, and that was actually kind of decent. It's the same kind of thing. But you get to the green on number 2, and it's just, half of it's burned out, half of it's bare, half of it is, the fringe is burned out. it was a mess. I don't know if it's burnout or if it's just ant infested or something, but it was just a mess. And I'm looking at this, and it's really sad to see the course in such bad condition. And then you look behind it, and right behind the green is, again, 4 lanes of traffic roaring by you. But I don't think the condition is what bothers a player so much as just thinking about it all instead of just going ahead and thinking about what they're doing and focusing on their game, especially if you're worried about, making shots, which are somewhat of a challenge. So in the long run, that was 1 and 2, right? Number 3 was, if somehow possible, even worse. I have seen this same kind of hole on a few courses, certainly, a few muni courses, certainly, but I've never seen a fairway that's just allowed to grow to crabgrass like this one. Where it wasn't bare, it was crabgrass. And the bottom line in this course, on that hole, was it was a pretty basic hole, an elevated tee down to a sort of a crossing fairway to a green that was slightly elevated and so forth. It was just a normal hole, but the conditions were just so bad. Number 4 was, again, a fairly common dogleg left with a creek over the fairway at the beginning of the dogleg, down to the green, 150 yards down to the green, so forth, same kind of thing. Again, the thing was to take the shot instead of choking up on it and trying to be cute with it or something and leaving it on the front or whatever. You gotta hit the ball and put it on the green. It's that simple. So that was a decent hole, but the next hole was really kind of a joke. It was a kind of blind crescent shot to the right, where you really don't have a full driver to play. And it's really like maybe a 5-iron to the fairway and a 5-iron to the green. So, but that was halfway decent. It had a lake behind it to the left on the green and a creek in front and stuff. And that was halfway, okay. But things really started to, pick up on 6, 7, 8, 9, which were, like I said, par 3s, and actually were pretty decent par 3s as far as par 3s go. And it was really a good challenge for a par 3 set of holes. All the way until you get to the back, until you get 13, 14, 15, which were par 4s. There's a par 4 going out and a par 4 coming back, and certainly that par 4 was a decent hitter's par 4. It was 375, something like that. So you've got a decent drive and then like a 7-iron to the green. The next one coming back was actually surprisingly tough. It was a decent 400-yard par 4, but you've got a big stand of trees in the way. You have to play through the chute to get towards the green. You either have to go through the chute on the driver, or you would lay up in front of the chute and then take like a 2 or 3-iron to the green. Either way, it was a good challenge. And then after that, there was a 175-yard par 3 with a lake behind the green, a lake to the front of the green, and a lake to the left of the green. Then the next one was an uphill 135-yard par. I'm talking about from the blue tees. They only had 2 tees. Decent uphill par 3. The next one was a dogleg par 4 coming back. Very decent hole. Team was a fairly standard par 4. You hit your driver, and then you've got a 7-iron to the green and stuff, and it's an uphill green, blind shot to the sense that you can see the top of the flag, and there's 2 sand traps on the left and so forth. And it was all decent, as a golf course could be decent, but not outstanding, except for the fact that there was so much damage to the greens. There were so many spots on the fairways and in the rough that were burned or ant infested or something. Just a tough course to overlook that, while at the same time, it was also a tough course to play out of that rough. But at the same time, it was a good course in the sense that if you could put your driver in the fairway and your irons on the green, it was as legitimate a course as anything else. So I don't really want to give this course a bad grade. I think it's, not more than a C+ course as far as the layout goes. There's some holes that are really nice, really cool, challenging holes. But I do like the fact that it had a series of par 3s. That was also pretty interesting. Good challenge. And it does make you think of exactly what it is about each club in your bag that contributes or detracts from your score. And it's good to play a short course like this from time to time because it makes you play your irons more than your driver. I only got to hit driver on maybe a third of the holes, and that was something that, I appreciated that. That was a good thing to happen. It was certainly different than a lot of the courses that I usually, almost no course I've ever played is anything like this low score. So that was good. And I certainly can respect the course for a course as it is. It doesn't need to have 7,500 yards or 7,000 yards or even 6,500 yards to be a decent course. What it needs to have is enough of a challenge to make you, worry when you're playing about putting the ball in the woods just because you missed a green by 20 feet, which does happen if the greens are close enough to the woods and there's enough of a drop behind the green. You do have to worry about that. So this course did give you that impression. It's just a shame that it was so badly maintained in so many places, and also that it was right next to I-70. Otherwise, I would definitely come back and play it again just for the practice, no question. I think that the $35 with a cart, which they say is the same price the course is all the time, every day, it's $35, depending on what discounts you get, when you go in there, because they have a senior discount and they have a junior discount. So there is something to be said for this course as a course, despite the condition and despite the fact that it is right on I-70. But I don't think it's a course which is either credible enough in terms of the condition or enough of a challenge in terms of the layout to really rank as a B course, certainly a B minus at best. But the people are nice. It has a decent, if pretty plain clubhouse, at least it's decently sized. Nice balcony, nice deck. You get to sit out there and watch people tee off in the first and number 10. And it's definitely a nice place. The rates are nice. The location, decently, you can't really complain about the location. It's not hard at all to get to. It's not hard to get on, and it's a decent course to play. I can say in an academic sense it's a decent course to play, no question. It just won't make you feel good about playing it because it does have a less than, it doesn't look good through the first 5 or 6 holes, okay? But once you get past the first 5 holes, it steps up quite a bit, and you actually will think it is a decent enough course to play. You have to get through that first, and that's the trick. So no, it's no Bewley Rock, it's no Potomac Ridge. It isn't as unkept, unmaintained, and just wild as Cannon Ridge. But at the same time, it is not as bad as, some courses I can name that are in even worse condition and even less of a course than this, but not many. I can't name a lot that are, but there are a few. I have played a few courses that would make this look like a king's course by comparison, and they are few and far between, but still they exist. So I can give the course a B minus as a rating, but trust me, that's looking at it with a kind and gentle eye, and I think that is the most it could ask, and I will leave it at that. That is Willow Springs Golf Course in West Friendship, Maryland, off I-70, just to the north of I-70, just literally on the border of I-70, around Route 30. I think it's Route 32 that you turn off to go to the course, just south of Sykesville, Maryland. That is a B minus course to be nice to the course.